I'm gonna share my screen here just to let me know when this pops up. So I'm gonna start off um with the meetup of your own, the Agile Practitioners Virtual Special Interest Group SIG. So this is the place to start. Before I get started, I'll say uh, a few things I would like to say. I don't want to turn this into monologue. This is going to be a bit of a storytelling. I'm going to start off with a personal storytelling. Then I'll share some personal sentiments and understanding of the problem. I'll state the problem and then I'll try to um, interpret it. And then at some point, I would really like this to be more of a conversation than a presentation. Now, I'll tell you, as an alternative to this, I don't think you want it, but as a comparison, um, so Sasha's right. I mean, I'm actually in New Jersey. New Jersey, New York, adjacent to each other, as you know, from geography. I'm both. I was attending one of the local chapters. I won't say the name. Um, just a few hours ago. And God, it was like I felt like I'm about to fall asleep. They used the webinar version of Zoom as opposed to what we are using. So the only person I couldn't interact with anyone. So there won't be humans. There wouldn't be humans that I could see. Names, yes, they would pop up in the chat window, but people were not really chatting with each other. There was zero communication, zero collaboration, and the presenter was basically reading the deck. And it was damn, I said hello in and out. Wasn't really my cup of tea. So I want this to be much less of that and more of a conversation. But I do want to share a few nuggets up front. So please allow me to do so, and then maybe we can do it like more of a, just have a simple talk. Now, I am sharing, correct? You see your own
Yes, you're sharing
okay,
your screen.
so I don't want to spend much time talking about myself. I'm not really good at giving a 30-second elevator drop pitch. Self-presenting. I'll just tell you, I've been around long enough to remember when the word agile actually meant something much more authentic than it does today. So when the manifesto was written, I was just a junior guy learning walking the streets. I was in product management, more on a junior side, being a part of the product team, also doing some hands-on development. So I was a jack of all trades. I built myself into learning and education in a few years after that, but brought this along with me, the product management centricity and product focus into my coaching and training. And as I think I mentioned, on the Eastern Seaboard, although these days everything seems to be so close because of virtual reality. Um, oh, and a shameless plug. I just like Sasha runs San Francisco, the West Coast meetup. I run the East Coast. I have my own. It's built around organizational design, product centricity, and some other nuggets like business resilience. And there's a name for it. It's called Lean Agile and Large Scale Product Development. So just to be fair, I started back in 2015, so that's why my numbers are a little higher. And it actually went viral just about around before COVID, not during COVID, before COVID. For some reason, it just took off. I went virtual and it took off. So I'm gonna start with this page, your own page. So I'm a cartoonist. I'm also I if everything else fails, maybe I'll reserve to making pictures, graphics that are humorous and funny. Some people may not find them funny at all. So this is one of them. So I'm not sure if you actually had a chance to read the details of what Sasha posted here. Each one of these bullets we can actually unpack for a while, and it's got a link. Some of the references you may not have seen, like just with a raise of hands, how many people actually bored themselves by looking at those? Did you even bother? I'll pop those up here and there, some of them. If we're not judging, if you haven't, that's okay. All right, so this graphic shows essentially it's an illustration of what a bunch of people with that are around and about Agile, coaches, scrum masters, leads. everyone their mother, fighting, arguing about something, and there was a big bag of cash sitting on the table. You wonder why it's there, right? Well, everyone is a human. Everyone is trying to pave the road and butter their own bread. Of course, there's sarcasm in this because these people. If first, I would probably need to question: do we need that many people with the word coach in them? But assuming that we do, if they work for the same logo for the same organization, we would rather not see this collision of characters and personalities. Why are they arguing? Well, of course, if they all work for the same company, and if they are part of the organizational structure, and they have their bosses and managers, least likely they can actually work very freely as enablers, coaches, independent thinkers because they're part of the org structure, and therefore, with exceptions, and therefore they need to get paid, and therefore they are probably subject to what everyone else is. Performance appraisals, bonuses, perks, promotions. So when things get hard, when things get tough, tough gets going, right? So things are probably pretty tough now. So who's tougher here in this argument? We don't know. So let me step back and tell you a personal story. I think by telling you my personal story, I will achieve one goal I have. I would really like to level with you. I'm a presenter here, I'm speaking, but what I have been through, anyone else here could experience. And I wish you didn't. And if you end up in a situation like mine, maybe you can be smarter than me. This is what happened a few months ago. I was pursuing a good friend of mine. She works for I'm going to withhold names of companies. Okay, she works for a company in a pretty senior position. She's in sales and marketing she does externally facing work. She passed my name along to the group to the org structure internally for the role of a senior product coach. Now, I was lucky I could cut across to the person I was supposed to be talking, and I did not have to waste my time talking to HR first. Because in my personal view, if I did, I would probably fail at hello. It's just these days, and we will talk about this as well, but these days HR, it's more of an impediment than it's an obstacle in many cases. And there will be some graphics that I'm going to use to visualize my point of view. Now, I met with this person, so I was lucky. Someone paved the road for me. She was one of the sweetest and the most pleasant people that I've talked lately. She was very well spoken. She was very energetic, very ambitious, and very eager to engage, open-minded, at least from the start. She was in her, I would say, probably early 30s. Okay. I could judge by whatever I could see on Zoom. So we had this great conversation for starters, and then it felt like she started probing me with some of the questions that were around the line of work and the business that I've been around for close to 25 years. And just very naturally, I started referring to certain things that were obvious to me, were natural to me. Like I referred to the manifesto, to the Agile Manifesto. I referred to the 12, 4 postulates and 12 principles. I mentioned Scrum. So it was really, really, really about the authenticity and the origins of all of this, with the heavy focus on product-centric development, product centricity, and it's stuff that people that have been around long enough, they would know. And she changed her stance for a minute, and she said, well, we're not talking about agile coaching here. We're talking about product coaching. And that was like a epinephrine shock to me, like, okay, so what exactly do you mean? And she was like, well, so we actually at my company, and again, I'm withholding the name of the company, we don't really see much value in agile coaching. So we have this new organizational structure that is focused on product coaching. And we didn't get far with agile coaching over the last 7, 8 years. So what you're describing, like, tell me about your product coaching experience. So I didn't want to backtrack on what I've said that far, this far, but I wanted to clarify something for her. But she was an interviewer and I was an interviewee. So, there was some degree of subordination, right? Even though she was half of my age, um, almost. So, and I try to so why is this discussion all about, like, there's something that's called false dichotomy, right? False dichotomy, like false binary, just because, it is raining, it doesn't mean it has to be cold. You could be in a tropical island, it could be raining, right? Just because I'm walking doesn't mean I cannot be talking on the phone or vice versa, hopefully not driving. So, long story short, at that point, I realized that we might be talking past each other. And although she may have the best intentions at heart. By the way, I did my probing before we met. I went on LinkedIn, I looked at her profile. She had maybe 1 or 2 professional experiences, gigs before she came to this company, totally maybe 6 or 7 years. One fourth of mine. And she was with smaller to mid-size product-like companies in what seemed to be like in the product managers, like a junior product manager's role. So what I learned from this was I was talking to a different generation, a person who never bothered, actually, maybe because she thought, and by the way, it could have been anyone. Um, she really didn't pay attention to the history at all. Like in my age, in my times, we didn't have the luxury to split hairs and to say, well, I'm an agile coach, and I'm a product coach, and I'm a back-end coach, and I'm a front-end coach. Now, you could argue that there are some specific focal areas where you may wish to specialize, and we're going to cover some of those, or at least we will talk about them. But when you create such a false dichotomy and almost dismiss or create a cognitive bias towards an individual because they come from a historical background, that's probably disservicing. Now, ironically, the world is very small. And again, without dropping names, totally accidentally, her direct boss was my good connection, not a colleague, but a good virtual connection on LinkedIn for many years. And I was kind of chit-chatting with him after that. And in passing, I mentioned the name of the company. And just because everyone knows everyone, he asked, what's her name? And I gave her name because now I felt I'm somewhere very close to the to the to the center of the universe, right? And he goes, "Oh, she reports to me." And he was actually on the medical leave of absence for personal reasons. I'm not sure if he will be coming back. Um, so long story short, I mean, he knew me, I knew him, he knew exactly what I was doing, he knew it was a false dichotomy. I'll just leave it at that. We had a great conversation. I asked him not to change anything, not to get involved. But I guess what I'm trying to convey is that with this perception of agility, of authentic agility that exists in the industry, there is no wonder why some people, maybe even whole organizations, feel that agile is dead. Now, for the person I was interviewed by, agile was truly dead. It was an old page. It was the history that was, it was the page that got already flipped. It was before her time. What was even worse was that at that very company, agile coaching wasn't a success. it has been diluted, and we're gonna get some of it, get some of these slides. It was diluted by people that did not have qualifications, did not really know what they were doing. And at the end of the day, when whoever pays for it, there's an old I think German proverb, he's the piper who pays for music. Something along, I'm paraphrasing. So if you pay for music, you who pays for music calls the tunes. So whoever was in charge of this, and whoever was sponsoring this, they probably look at this return on investment and they say, you know what? Enough of this nonsense. What are we doing next? Oh, and by the way, these days, everyone wants to be product centric, and we're going to talk. We can talk about this as a sidebar discussion. And so, what's the next beautiful thing? What's the next shiny coin? Oh, product coaching. And they pulled a bunch of people together. Some of them actually are qualified to be product managers, but there was no need, there was no reason to dismiss agile coaching. Was it truly authentic and properly, properly done, properly delivered? But because of the low quality, of course, they had to dismiss it. Now, let me say something else to you. People that are, are very sensitive to what's going on in the industry. I would say in their own ways, they're smart. They've jumped ship. Let me see this picture. So I have seen this a ton. So this is actually my way to cooperate with ChatGPT. I give instructions and ChatGPT creates images. You will be surprised how many people today that call, oh, I'm a product coach. They were sensitive enough, they were, I guess, clever enough to know that the clouds are coming over their heads, and some of these towers are going to be, the Agile power towers will be destroyed. There was absolutely no need, of course, to burn the house of Agile coaching, if it, contains good quality, experienced, properly educated coaches, also properly positioned and protected, because proper coaching requires a protection, because you would be out on the limb a lot and sticking your head out there, challenging organizational dysfunctions, including executive dysfunctions, those from the executive management. So there's no really need to burn the house. You just need to properly position and protect it. But this is what's called an exodus, right? You run out of one building and run into another one. First, guess what? What's the next building these days? I'm just guessing. AI. So somewhere there on the horizon, maybe it's somewhere there in the bushes, in the greens, you're gonna have another building, and everyone's gonna be running out of this one and running that one. So these are not falsely dichotomous things. I actually have the whole writing on this. Now, this is another graphic illustration of the same, but from a slightly different perspective. And I would like to emphasize here the RO, return on investment part. I mean, you obviously see this, you can probably take it with a grain of salt, right? You got a business agility coach, an agile coach, a product coach, XYZ naming coach, essentially pulling in their own direction. This is, of course, this is a cartoon. An agile PMO is calling the shots here, right? Now, someone there, behind the scenes, someone is asking, what the heck is going on? What's the ROI in this? Now, I don't have to slide here, but I will pop it up in a second. 1 second, let me just quickly. I am going to share you this other slide that I have. Everything that I share here will be shared with you as live links, so it would be easy for you. Now, I'm going to ask you if this is true or false. You don't have to type, and just, you can yell out, is it true or false? Hopefully the answer is true. Because although Agile isn't to make things cheaper or faster or more hyper productive, the ultimate tail end result of this, if you do this right, of course, it's the bottom line. Now, if you are more adaptive, again, the word Agile has been so badly misinterpreted. If you take it at its face value, and if you are more nimble, more adaptive, more light-footed, and you're able to compete with your competitors better, and beat them to the punch and have better earnings, then eventually you can claim, yes, it has been a beneficial effort. It has been financial, monetarily beneficial effort because the investment you made into this agile transformation is justifiable by the return you got from it. Thus, it is more than one. If this is not true, if this is barely breaking even, it's probably not worth it. So why change something when it ain't broken? Worse yet, if you pissed away, forgive my French, $60-70 million given to a large consultancy and getting nada, zilch, bogus in return, then of course someone's going to ask. So we need to be very clear on something. It is not about agility being no longer relevant. It's almost like saying a healthy diet and healthy lifestyle are no longer relevant. They're very much relevant, still remain. What becomes very questionable now if those omissions and misappropriations that we see with implementing them. If someone says, I am on a healthy, lean diet, but next thing you know, this person is completely cutting corners and fooling himself, it doesn't work. So what happens next? Well, that diet doesn't work for you. No diet would work for you. Now, let me carry forward a little bit on this. Like I said, I like cartoons and the graphics, and I started building many years ago. This is obviously before ChatGPT, so it's a little crooked. What's today's world? Today's world, the new world, past the Stargate. To a large extent, it used to be a world of people that had really no required skills, no investment in growing their skill sets, just essentially going through this transformation center or like transitioning, getting a badge that had the word agile. This is really bad, really. For some reason, my image doesn't look, this looks like a stamp, right? So they get a dictionary with a buzzwords, agile words, and they get a stamp. Now you're agile, whoever you used to be, and off you go. So really doesn't change much, hasn't changed at all. Nothing has changed. These people actually, some of them, they made through the process, they made through the Stargate, they positioned themselves organizationally pretty solidly and even have advanced based on this. Of course, not because they were amazing coaches, not because of amazing agile coaches, but because they just knew how to play the system and go up the chain of command. Some of them, most of them, I would say, are no longer in a coaching capacity whatsoever. They jumped ship. They're doing something else. It was a great escalator. It was a great lift to where they wanted to go. But it left a bitter taste in everyone's mouth. Now, agile coaching was always a questionable thing. Agile was always poorly understood. But what do you do when someone poorly understands? You want to improve this understanding, and you really want to increase authenticity of the message and make sure that it reaches as many people as possible. But what we have seen is that dilution and digression of agility and of agile happens most of the time. And these people actually have essentially watered down the greatness, the amazing stuff that was introduced almost 20 years ago. Was nothing wrong with that back then, nothing wrong with it today. It's the reputation that we have been receiving that is not pleasant. Now, these people don't suffer as much. Some of us do, because we stick to our guns. We still continue doing what we have been doing. There's nothing wrong with that to begin with. Now, this is another one of my old ones. I call it bad SQL. I'm not sure if anyone actually can read SQL. It's very simple. It's a very easy to read. It's called an update statement, right? So the first two clauses, update table of employee and set the table employee with the title Senior Agile Coach by overriding the previous value where it said Senior Project Manager. And of course, if you are Junior Project Manager, the overriding will be to a Scrum Master or something along those lines. Now, if this is a prevalent situation, if this is what prevails in the industry, why be surprised that this thing gets a very bad reputation? We get a bad reputation because you don't become a Scrum Master by just converting your title in HR database. You don't become a coach, whether junior or senior, by simply converting from a manager into a coach. So something like this, it's almost like impossible today to reverse because the momentum is so huge. This has been seen left, right, and center. But again, something to keep in mind. I want to double click on this a little more. In fact, let me enlarge it. So what is dead is what this part of the diagram has brought. Okay? This fast tracking up the chain of command to the apex. This has never been dead. It's not dead. It's very much alive. It's just hidden under the rocks, under the cover. So I guess you may ask a fair question. So what do we do here, right? We're here, they raced up the chain, they raced up the, up the hill, and now they're doing something else. These people are actually not change agents. They have they have produced a bad reputation. So bikers versus hikers. I call them bikers versus hikers. Another way of looking at it is this. A biker is the person who jumped ship or wasn't satisfied with climbing the stairs one by one. And this person just wanted to jump, make a few, very, very big steps. Of course, there's a bag of cash sitting up there. So of course, they knew where they were going. Agile coaching path hasn't really changed. And these people, they just march up and help each other and hold each other's hand. This journey, this path isn't dead. It's still there. Deck during transformations. I'll let you read it for a minute for your own amusement. I call them DDTs, not to be confused with TDDs, test-driven development. That's a great engineering practice. That's something else. TDTs, also not a test-driven development, tool-driven transformation. Now, this part should not have seen a daylight. So I don't want to sound brutal. I don't want to sound cruel. But if we talk about Agile being dead, now these are calices that have to be shaved. This is like dead skin that needs to be shaken off. This stuff is actually not giving a good reputation to anyone who is who supports and promotes true organizational agility. Large consultancies, deck creators that have, in fact, one of the reasons why I no longer use a deck is I just do not want to be associated with a deck pusher. It's just, not a good place to be in. I'll do either this or mirror board or almost nothing, just have a story. It tells you something else. Those that actually, well, not everyone, but if you look at any large deck of any large consultancy, you probably need a magnifying glass to read it. Will not be dropping names here, but I've seen them almost all Big Five, all Big 10. It's almost the entire knowledge is in the deck. I always say, why don't you just publish a book? At least we'll make some money. Okay. All right, we're not there yet. Hold on, not there yet. So I want to go back to this slide just for a minute because I really wanted this to be more of a conversation. Again, I'm going to restate the problem. I'm going to restate it as I see it, and if your claim is different, please let me know. The market for proper agile coaching, for effective Scrum mastering, for proper Scrum. I'm going to use the word proper because I believe in it. Proper, authentic. The market has been very badly diluted. Very badly diluted. Now it's the mixture of people that have never been qualified and somehow jumped in the bandwagon because there were jobs and there were budgets, and people that actually have invested in themselves a plenty and truly deserve to be, held to their high standards because they meet those standards. All of the above probably suffer equally. Sadly, some people that know how to play the system get through quicker. One of my slides will show how. But the problem is, as in the old movie, the clear and present danger with Harrison Ford. The problem is clear and present. We have a grossly diluted, very grossly diluted market. We have almost no faith, no trust in Agile and Agile coaching because it has been, en masse, market-wide, has been introduced poorly with a very low stress on quality from the very beginning. And today we have too much skepticism. So this dichotomy going, you're not an Agile coach. Well, I'm not an Agile coach. I'm a business agility coach. For crying out loud, what exactly are you saying, sir or ma'am? So if you're a business agility coach, then who am I? Am I technical agility coach or operational agility? Why are we splitting hairs in this? Why aren't we looking at the organizational ecosystemically? Isn't that also a poor way to bring people together under the same umbrella, under the same logo? When you say business versus technology or business versus operations, aren't we creating what's called fragmented agility? And let's see if I can quickly find a slide for this, because I think I have a strong point to make on this, if I can find it quickly. Maybe not. Yes, I can. Yes. So why split hairs? Why say Agile in sales, Agile in vendor management, Agile in HR, Agile in hardware, and blah, and blah, and blah. Agile in, love this one, Agile in non-IT. Again, some people there out there think, oh, Agile was created for IT. By the way, IT is not software development. IT is computers, hardware, wires, servers. That's actually the proper definition of IT. But even it was software development, isn't that crazy? Like we are creating an environment where we have us versus them, my Agile versus your Agile. So with this degree of dilution and quite frankly pollution of the industry, there is no surprise. There's no wonder that there are people out there, skeptics and just people that like bashing everything. Well, Agile doesn't work. Agile is dead. I would actually get lost. Who's who? Someone who is an Agile for sales, an Agile for business. Wouldn't they be looking for synergy with developers? So how does that separate? Someone who's a product coach, and of course I come from the long track of organizational design framework called large scale Scrum, where it is assumed from the very beginning, that we built an organization around a product definition. So you cannot not be a product coach. You cannot not teach and coach, and train and coach, and all of those ways of influencing a product owner. And by the way, a product owner, who is a product owner? Who's a great candidate? One of the great candidates is a product manager who is externally facing to do their daily work. That's what makes them a great product owner, because now they can, they are properly positioned organizationally. So of course, maybe I come somewhere with my own cognitive bias that your organization is built around a product, and of course, you can't separate, you cannot split hairs like this. You are, if you are coaching a product team, of course you're coaching a product. But things like these happen out there. So you may ask a question like, how do we fix this? First of all, I think we have created so many roles, so many terms and definitions. God knows we do not need more. We need less. There's nothing with less, like large scale Scrum, because you may think of me as, I'm trying to gear towards large scale. No, not at all. Not at all. Very common sense discussion here. But we need fewer roles. We need fewer definitions. Just because we have diluted the industry. It's almost like I'm also a licensed realtor in my own state of New Jersey, so it's a shameless plug. My industry is very highly regulated. I used to be in investment banking more than 25 years ago when I started working for pay. Was also highly regulated. Look at us. We're totally unregulated. With this degree of unregulated stuff, there's another slide that I would like to show you. It's not like a tobacco or alcohol industry. Everything here is highly controlled. You make a pack of cigarettes without a license, you go to jail. You produce alcohol without a license, without permission, you go to jail. You create another framework or another fancy role, another fancy title, anything flies. Nothing's going to happen to you. And of course, everyone, their mother creates their own. And this is not to say let's create, almost like a totalitarian regime. No one can innovate and produce anything on their own. There's got to be some sort of a balance. There's absolutely no balance. There's absolutely no happy medium. We're way far off edge, far off base here. And because of this, I don't want to say amazing, gross dilution. Of course, there are people out there. And who would be the first people that actually say it's dead? Just curious. What do you think? People that don't see value in it. Who doesn't see value in it? People that actually pay for it. Where's my yellow slide here? Hold on, we're not there yet. There was one slide that, this is the slide. Whoever pays for this at some point realizes, what the heck am I paying for? I'm not paying for anything that's useful, not anything that has increased my success, nothing that brought more financial prosperity, my financial freedom to me or my company. Right? For large organizations, there are massive risks. Massive risks. Large banks, if you work for a smaller company, for a product company, for a boutique firm, and you're actually doing a great job, you're in a much better place. Please stay there, be there. I'm happy for you. If you work for a large bank, for pharmaceutical, for healthcare, where Agile used to be the, almost like a cult, like an Agile theater, as I call it, or an Agile circus. You better believe it. You're going to be riffed, or you're going to see lots of riffs. I have one slide that I want to show you, and I'm sure I think I'm killing my own thunder because I'm showing you slides that are out of pack. Let me get to this slide. This is the slide I wanted to show you. This is the sign of a dying Agile transformation. When you see that the chopper with some of the heads of the transformation is about to take off, you start thinking. You absolutely have to start thinking for yourself. This is an example. And again, I've heard plenty about my graphics. Oh, they're so career limiting. They're so inflaming. They're so Are you implying, Gene, that this is me? I never said that. Do you recognize yourself in this chopper? So when you see people starting to move, and for example, if you hear or see someone who says Agile this, Agile that, transformation, blah, and they're really promoting, the whole transformation thing, and next thing you know, in a few weeks, in a few months, this person is moving from one part of the organization to another. They know more than you do because they understand budgets more than you do. They understand how budgets cascade. They understand when Riff is going to come. So they jump and ship first. In fact, I've known, and I'm not sure if I wouldn't call them they betrayed the idea. I think they knew exactly what was going on and they just were smart. People that actually left these centralized power towers of agile transformation that were just slowly dying towers and they jumped ship, but not like so. They went to product lines, almost like found a happy small space elsewhere on the side where they could actually do some value, deliver some value to product lines, to real products. Less is more. I wish them well. They made a right choice. I wish I could follow them. I wasn't, I can think of at least a few people that have done this very swiftly, at the few banks where I used to do consulting. If I was an employee there, I would have done probably the same thing, followed them. But in the greater scheme of things, if you see people are moving like this, you know what to do. If they are moving organizations, they usually go for a bigger paycheck. You should know what to do. Okay. Now, I really want this to be more of a conversation now, so I want to go kind of back and forth between, I'm digressing and then coming back. So just to reiterate, Agile isn't dead. It would be as unfair to say that Agile is dead as it would be to say, half a dot is bad or dead, or it's almost like dismissing or bashing some great norms and values and principles that are traditional and orthodox. Why is it all of a sudden so bad to have a good working habit or to have a good habit to study hard and to get good grades? Oh, because college education no longer matters. Well, first of all, I don't agree with it. Some of it could be wasteful, years or credits you take, but in general, when you get educated and go through high education, you gain and you become a better person. But you also have to understand that some people have so much frustration with negativity and with negative connotation that comes with poor implementation. You cannot blame them for being upset and dismissive of Agile. And again, I'm going to stress once again, in order for us to regain grounds, we do not need to create something new. Like, for example, people, oh, now it's AI. It just blows my mind. Those very people that are adamant about AI, they got clueless about how AI works. But now everyone who used to be a product or an agile coach, now we're thinking, maybe I should become an AI coach. Now you should learn a few things AI does, like ChatGPT and some other tools, but don't think that you can completely dismiss dynamic learning of a human by substituting this with the algorithmic, the most advanced algorithmic AI really doesn't come close to what a human can do. First and foremost, what's missing is empathy and I'm looking for the word. I would say I would stick to the word empathy for now, but there's something else that's completely missing in AI, and I don't believe it will ever be produced because there's something that makes us very unique as humans. But the point I'm trying to make is that some people think, okay, so well, Agile is also dead because now it's like it's so orthogonal. It's a tractor and an apple. It's like apples and oranges. In fact, being more adaptive, being more nimble, and if we speak in terms of Scrum or large-scale Scrum, for example, being cross-functional and full stack and more adaptive, you are making yourself less dispensable by AI. If you are mundane, procedural, laborious person who just does essentially mundane work, copy paste, or does not do something that does not do anything that could be easily automated, you should be worried. And I'm thinking of myself too. What am I doing today that it's easily substitutable by AI? And I'm trying to shift my direction also. Aaron,
Yeah,
you,
no, thanks, Gene. I mean, obviously, great talk, like always. Um, I really would like you to sort of build on this this sort of I almost call it the AI monolith that's being built, or it's not. I don't know how much you even want to argue it's being built, but it's eating all the oxygen, right? So, in the CapEx discussions. Right now it's AI everything. I remember this happening and 3, 4 other times in my career. Um,
Mhm.
when mobile, right? Like when mobile exploded, kind of like around 2010, really 2010, 11, 12. Everyone was bolting on mobile, even if it didn't make any sense, right? Like why are you going to bolt mobile onto ERP, really? But it didn't matter. It was like that was the full blown hype cycle. And then we obviously went through that with cloud and API, SaaS phases, more recently, and now it's AI. And the AI one feels because it's such a generalized category, right? I mean, because I think for those of us that have been doing let's say workflow improvement for a while, like pre RPA, even just old school workflows, and then RPA came out, and then let's just say what people called intelligent RPA, which in a lot of ways I view this as just IRPA 3.0 in a lot of ways. I mean, when you're looking at the enterprise, like how you're really using it when it's workflow related. And then on the office side, the end user side, it's just Power Office tools upgrades for people. It's search and it's basically a search and office functions put together. It's more than that, but it's not much more than that. And I just don't find anybody's really sitting there designing new application landscapes, right? And it's almost like there's an assumption, let's just jam in a bajillion AI tools. And we went through this with SaaS, right? We just jammed in a bajillion SaaS tools, right? We spent, my whole career has been, how do we swap client server and ERP apps and ERP modules for mainframe, and then how do we bolt a ton of stuff on them, and then how do we do a bunch of custom dev that ERP and package doesn't do. And then we said, all right, stop all that, treat all that like the mainframe. Let's now ram in 1,000 SaaS apps. And then now what we're really doing is just sort of an AI version of the SaaS apps. So it's, there's almost this bacteriological model going on. We're just adding bacteria. Um,
Yeah.
it's hard to have a conversation with people because you'll meet someone, I've had a meeting yesterday. Someone says, I'm the Scrum Master, blah blah blah, lead whatever for this agentic, yada yada, and I'm just like, where's your customer personas? And, I mean, just these basic questions, and they don't have any answers, right? They're just ramming in vanilla, AI SaaS, and I'm like, why do you need an agile leader for this? I mean, like, really? Um, and so I'm just finding, I mean, I'm wondering what your opinion is. If you think I'm all wrong about this, that's fine. I mean, or do you have a different take on this? Because I don't know how sustainable this is.
So
Oper
Aaron, just so that I appreciate your thoughtful and thorough position in this that as you're sharing it. But exactly, if you were to frame your question,
Yeah.
like more succinctly,
So
what
yeah.
was
So
I thinking on what? On
sure.
AI
No,
future?
thanks.
Uh-huh.
Well, so how sustainable operationally are we really when it comes to deploying a managerial approach to the disruption that organizations are attempting to do with AI after all the other disruptions we've been doing, and that basically this disruption it has an orthogonal position to the other disruptions, right? They're in conflict.
So, to the extent that I understand your question, and if I haven't done this in full, you're more than welcome to correct me. This is what I think. This is what I'm understanding, and this is my answer. This is my take on this. And also, remember, I'm also human, and just like some of you, maybe all of you, I'm the subject to the same exact. market and industry pressure, maybe even more so than some of you because of some of the things that I say openly and bluntly that I cannot, nor do I want to undo. But let me say what I think I need to say here, Aaron. So I personally think that AI is an amazing thing, and it has its unquestionable future, and we shall be moving in this direction. Now, um, if you remember, and I'm going to digress just for a few seconds. If you remember, I think it was in 2000, what? The Terminator 3 movie, right? When the machines that took over the world, right? I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we are even close to have the machines, the AI essentially. Back then, it wasn't called AI; it was something else. The Terminator 3 movie, right? Remember when the flying
Skynet. Yeah, Skynet.
the Skynet, yeah. Back then it was Skynet. In fact, maybe we can start using Skynet instead of AI.
Yeah, you should build a Skynet slide. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, I don't want to claim that tomorrow or anytime soon AI can take over the nuclear power and do some irreversible damage through that. But I can tell you, um, the hype is high, and you have to take good with the bad. I Let me show you one slide here that I was actually preparing for later, but you kind of asked me to share it now. Well, this is one problem right off the bat. I see it daily. You may actually say the same about yourself. Maybe yes, maybe no, but this is a huge problem. AI now is behind some of the very malicious activities on LinkedIn, on Monster.com, on Hot Jobs. I was a subject to this as well, even as lately as today. In fact, off the record, I can show you some screenshots that I took. AI could become very dangerous, especially for naive people. I'm not exactly a naive person, but for a few minutes I got caught. This is another shorthand of AI, disadvantage of AI. I am actually very, very unfortunate and upset about some other folks, and to an extent, I'm upset with myself. Good people can easily get stuck here because when you go through the sieve of AI with an HR recruiter who's not qualified to ask right questions, there's a high chance, high probability you will never make through the process. Remember, I was telling you about my experience at the beginning of the session. I was lucky with that specific instance. I was lucky to bypass this whole problem of screening with AI and HR, and I went directly to whoever was looking for a candidate. And it's unfortunate we discovered another problem there. It is what it is. But at least I didn't have to go through this. I don't even think that these days you can effectively apply online and have good success. It's either because of the huge volume of people that are banging on the system, or because the systems are just not capable of recognizing quality and separating quality from no quality. But to say a little more on what you said, Aaron, I think it is disservicing to an extent. And as much as I love innovations and discoveries and new technologies, and in essence what AI can do for us, I think there is a lack of control, and there are no guardrails. And some of these guardrails are very necessary because otherwise majority of humans are not smart enough, are not capable, because not because we're stupid, but simply because we're not capable yet, we're not sophisticated yet to separate authenticity from BS. Look at these videos that come out today. Look at how they animated the mouth, the eyes, the face of an AI generated person is just like me, just like you. So if there were no guardrails around this, things could happen. Now, as far as the job market, I can tell you, if the industrial revolution of the last century has created lots of jobs, AI will be reducing some jobs, less critical and less to those jobs that do not require ongoing continuous dynamic learning. Now, it's probably not as bad as it sounds, but the way it's being perceived by everyone and because of the hype, the problem is clear and present today. So I think today many great people are out of work because in fact, because there's too much reliance on this thing, and companies actually get, so the beneficiaries are companies, right? They get cheaper and less qualified people in volumes, and people that actually do not bother, do not even know how to fool AI, they get stuck. Don't get through. So essentially, when bots fight bots, you know, a job applicant versus a job receiver, it's bots that are talking to each other, not humans anymore. So who is more intuitive, who is more tricky with writing an algorithm wins. Who the beneficiaries would be teams, companies and senior and highly qualified workers. But so highly qualified workers are left out, and companies don't get those highly qualified workers. So I think I'm not sure if I'm answering your question directly, Aaron, but at least I think there is some degree of disservice that this thing is totally without guardrails. And by the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned this. It's on my site somewhere. You can let's just go. There was I know I'm a little too fast. If you want to also understand the legal implications of AI, Aaron and everyone, you want to watch this video. It comes from the attorney who understands very well internet and IP, and I'm pasting this in the window. Um, I'm not sure, but very soon we may end up with lawsuits, companies going against companies because someone's AI produced code has become someone else's property and they're making a claim. So there are very different permutations of this. So it's actually a very interesting video recording. I suggest watching it. Uh, okay, so let me stop. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure. I'm actually at the point where I think we need to open up for conversation. So, Aaron, you let me know if this
Oh
was.
no, that was great. No, thank you. I mean, I
I
think
don't know if I exhausted with the answer, but at
no,
least
no, no. You did. You gave a great answer. I'm wondering what other people, what their experiences are.
yeah, for sure. I welcome thoughts and contributions from others. David, Pedro, Slava, Moshe, Doc, you guys have anything to say?
It's a brave new world.
It's a great, you say great,
Brave new world.
brave new world.
And I'm purposely quoting the book title.
Oh, okay.
Um, I am glad I'm near the end of my career
Yeah,
because
yeah.
because it can get very tricky to navigate.
Doug, with all due respect, I see what you're saying. I think you're alluding to the fact that you're at the point in your career where you're about to hit your retirement, is it not?
Yeah, yeah. I've hit my 40th working year this year.
All
So
right. So God bless
and
you. God bless you, and hopefully you will, leverage your retirement years wisely and go travel and do something good for the family. But for those of us that actually still need to work, you're right. We can lower the guard.
yeah, it's very, very complicated. One of my clients is in biotech, and everyone is going all in on AI there, and they're doing some stupid. I shouldn't say.
Give one example. So I would actually like to hear your example of stupidity with AI.
So I don't even understand it, but they've been asking the people in the labs to figure out how they can use AI to improve what they're doing. And no one in the lab really understands how a large language model works. And so they're making stuff up about what its capabilities are.
Yeah.
And what's happening is that, you hire some people that, are in the rah-rah AI camp. Kind of, the people in the Agile theater camp.
Mhm.
And what happens is that, well, I mean, they hear about AI all the time, so these are the people that, are, they get all the FaceTime with the executives and all this stuff, and it just becomes very, very interesting. Mind you, there are some really great use cases for using AI in biotech. I mean, there's literally, like they create like the group I'm in creates like tons of slides and digital imaging comparison amongst gazillions of humans or animals or whatever, very, very useful. You can spot trends, and there are some really, really great use cases for AI, but then there's some really dumb ones people are coming up with. So
So,
anyway, I find the whole thing fascinating.
thank you for sharing this. Let me just say something to this effect. I mean,
Mhm.
this wasn't a part of this discussion. It wasn't in depth. The only slide that kind of alludes to my, my other topic, like the deviation. This isn't about Agile, is that in general. It is more about HR and career path as it's related to AI. I'm just going to share another very quick story. A couple weeks ago, I was invited for an internal talk to a company that is all over AI, and they think this is it. They got it by the, forgive my French, by by what? They have it done cold. Great. So we talked and and I polled people right on the call there. It was like 120. When you do an internal event, like they consider a community event as a mandate, so they show up. Great for me as a speaker because you get tons of people. But I unexpectedly for the organizers, I poll people, say pink in the chat window, like 1-0, I think it was, or yes, no, for how do you feel about your job being at stake, threatened by AI implementation? And about 75 to 80% gave a positive answer. Now, I think it was an exaggeration, but it's almost like a panic button. It was like a panic attack. It was a panic reaction of people to what they have been seeing and observing. Then I see they rips left, right, and center. You see people being let go, job titles, job families being reduced. The hype about AI is everywhere, and people kind of make connection. Oh, that's because of AI. So but so I had to explain some of the things that it's not like I'm an expert, but I understand enough. Um, I could say enough to be dangerous that those very people that are so brave and so, so much promote the idea of AI taking over and automating everything under the sun, they actually disservice in themselves. Not to say that AI is a bad thing, but AI will eventually create confusion. And although some of the work it can automate and rightful so and greatly, gives a false impression that it could be used to substitute everything. That was a conversation that actually rubbed off the wrong way with some of the folks that were like in a managerial position, because they were essentially they were paving the road and creating the environment where everyone would want to say AI in their title.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, what exactly are you achieving by this? It's almost like everyone has an agile now. They're the agile project manager, agile BA, agile backend developer. Seriously, it's an oxymoron. It's like a healthy cigarette. Like you can't concatenate certain words together. They just don't make sense. Oh, these are slim. These are Virginia Slim cigarette. They're thin. They're tiny. These are for kids. Right. So, yeah, so my point is if you think internally you have some of this liberty to bring an external unsanitized view on HR and AI, give me a call. Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, so I have a sort of a use case. I support my company's growth and sales enablement process, across North America. So basically, as we want to improve or bring on salespeople, um, uh, executives, account managers, account directors, all the front facing customer related people. So we have, which never really had a lot of agile in that world or lean. It's sort of chaotic. So I brought, a kind of an approach there that created more standard sort of processes and simplified things. And I'm finding um, people are using AI. It's a weird blend of AI, fake productivity, cost cutting is what I'm seeing a lot of.
Yeah.
We're going to do a lot of AI, and then we see people, that aren't in roles they were in, and of course, there's no transitions. There's no, you're just creating new chaos. Um, and when challenging any of that, it's basically either, it'll be fine. You don't know the big plan. It has all these same signatures, like intelligence signatures of the transformation failure cycles that you were, talking. I remember you were talking about those, when I first started, maybe in New York, seeing you like 5 years ago or 7 years ago, whatever it was. Um, and it just feels the same way. It feels that we're in a chaotic organizational cost-cutting era. AI is the proxy. There's a sort of rando hope that some of the AI projects materialize. Um, you know, I would say probably maybe, something like that. There doesn't seem to be any of the, like, all the quality guardrails seem to have just been completely taken off. And anyone who brings up, process, quality, customer, voice of the customer, just anything, there just is no, it's totalitarian almost. Um,
Mhm.
and so to me, it's just, and I'm seeing this pretty universally across different firms. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's a pretty chaotic era that I think is likely whenever the music stops or slows down. It's not going to stop, but it slows down. That there's going to be this adulting that comes back into the corporate organizational world again, and has to clean all this up, basically.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the perspective. I won't disagree. I mean, I don't have as we used to say it in the investment, when I did, my real estate, not real estate, the investment banking thing. I don't have a crystal ball. You probably are right. Yeah, I mean, there's so much unknown now. I want to kind of I feel a little bit jealous of Doug, who said that, he's at the tail end of his career journey, and he's going to probably retire soon. I just don't know what else to bring. Like when people say we need to pivot, some people pivot, and they're successful. But majority of people, I think, they will be like spinning around their tail more than pivoting, because there's so much unknown. There's like a high degree of unpredictability.
Well, and I think the problem also is that the remedies that people are given, I mean, I was working with an account team, and they were all, whatever, basically wasting all this time trying to learn prompting. I'm like, why are you doing this? Right. And they didn't have a wrong answer from a,
Oh,
sort of human, like a Hunger Games perspective, right? They didn't want to, well, I would say if they get smoked, they want to at least have some of those skills. That's A. Number two, though, I would say they they felt that right now that's something that is safe, no pun
yeah.
intended. But and I think that's a real challenge right now.
Hey,
And
Aaron, you know what? I want to take one from David, because David
sure.
didn't speak yet, and I do want to, before we wrap up, want to show you one more piece. David, please go on. Go ahead.
Oh, hi there.
Hey.
Yeah, just calling in from Melbourne, Australia. Thank you for your talk. Really
Wow.
appreciate the conversation. Something I think you touched on earlier, but it's probably something that's been on my mind for probably decades, and it gets a little attention, but not enough, is the basic work contract that people have between their role and the organisation, which says, you'll pay me and I'll do what you ask me to do. And how that actually drives the behaviors. We can talk about all the other stuff, agility, business agility, systems thinking, all those important things. But it's fascinating to me to see how the behaviors of people change so quickly and strongly because of that basic contract that's at the heart of everything. And we sort of gloss over it a lot of the time, say, oh, we're going to work, we'll do this, we'll have some values, we'll do whatever. But fundamentally, internally, all these people are working around, what have I got to do to keep my job and pay the mortgage, or whatever else is going on, and how that's driving whatever behavior they think will keep them in their role, whether they're an internal coach, an external consultant. There's not many people that I've seen, there are a few, that can actually go into a place and be free of that contract one way or another. And so therefore they're always compromising themselves. I'm not saying that's the whole game here. It's not everything you're talking about, but I just think it's interesting that that particular contract, which is at the base of everything, often gets glossed over as, well, that is all we have. We don't have any other way of working together. And so therefore we have to find ways around it, which is the truth. But it's interesting how it corrupts our human values all the time.
Thank
and
you,
I think,
David. Yeah.
and more recently, I've seen the behavior labeled as job hugging or quiet quitting or all those other sorts of labels that have been put around it. But equally, just to also mention, in Australia here, we're seeing the same things around, all the agile labels so dirty now that because of all the things you mentioned, that folks here are just moving away one way or another, relabeling. I know for myself, similar to Doug, I'm luckily at that end of my career as well. In more recent years, I just talked about, how do we make things better here? How do we get better business outcomes? What do you want to do about that? And working from that angle, not agile or lean or anything in particular. It's like, what are we going to do to get better business outcomes and new systems thinking, that sort of stuff. But anyway, that's just a perspective, just to add a voice to the conversation here. And thanks for listening.
Thank you for this. Thank you, David. Appreciate your candor, and of course, coming all the way from Australia. That's a nice treat, I'm sure, for Sasha, who's, quickly before we wrap up. I know, we need to essentially, and I'm actually dozing off myself because it's 10 o'clock going 11 soon. I'm in Eastern Coast, I'm Eastern Standard Time. I wanted to flash this page. It's an image, and I can share with you later if you're interested. These are very easily digestible dimensions of different types of coaching that is required and highly recommended. And please do not get anchored to the, oh, this is because it's large scale Scrum, that's why it's different. No, think of this as, agnostic of a framework or ways of working. Business agility coaching, product coaching, team coaching, organizational coaching, all of these types of coaching are required, but it does not necessarily mean that you need to have individuals dedicated specifically to business versus product versus this and that, because this may lead to what's called false dichotomy and internal contracts, us versus them. There's a huge amount of overlap between these. Now, for example, technical coaching arguably could stand out, and very few people actually have met that are true hands-on experienced technical coaches. I admire people that can actually lead by example and teach these great techniques. Okay, that's why it's in the middle. I can do it. I cannot do it, but I will bow to those that can. Everything else are different capabilities, different dimensions, different panes that could be easily overlapped, and they do overlap plenty. So if you need to advocate this internally or to anyone, to a colleague or maybe to a friend from the network, feel free to leverage this. I can share this with you. If you, and let me just wrap this up with another big statement. If you feel that at any point in time you need some help from an independent, from an external person who doesn't give a damn about internal dynamics, to undo this poor, incorrect assumption that Agile is dead, you knock on my door. Okay? This is not true. Agility isn't that, just like health or good habits or good behavior isn't that. This is good stuff. It's the name that has been given that it was bad. So we need to reduce bad Agile coaching instead of canceling it altogether, reduce bad ones. And my personal advice, and I repeat this to myself every day, stick to the authenticity. Stick to what has been native, original, common sense. Steer away from, oh, yet another innovation, yet another. Most likely it's a refurbished, repackaged old idea. At least in this world, in this dimension. Slava, I think you got a question. We're going to wrap up with you.
Yeah, I don't think, well, it's not a question. I think it's more of a statement. So every time I hear Agile is death, I think of Nietzsche when he said God is dead. But he also, I think this was stolen from Nietzsche, and Nietzsche said God is dead. But what is not being popularized, that the next sentence was, and we killed it. So I think that can be said about Agile as well. Bad Agilists and Agile that have been used, and I think you addressed it to some degree. Agile that being used for wrong purposes gave it a bad name, and companies got bitter taste in their mouths.
Bad Agile should be put to sleep. Maybe without pain, but bad Agile or fake Agile should be put to sleep. But we should not be burying true agility and adaptiveness, right? That thing was never, it was never a bad thing it was never a bad thing to begin with. It was meant to be in the most genuine, in the most healthy, in the healthiest way. It's what has people made of it. That's what is disturbing.
So how do we distill it? How do we help companies to distill it? This would be a bigger question.
My position, and I can't tell you to do the same, but I'm still struggling with this position. I try to say, I try to present it as follows. I'm combining with my offer, if I offer myself, I'm combining my modern thinking and modernized views and up to par, up to scale understanding of the current modern reality of the world with original, authentic intentions that were introduced a couple of decades ago and never went bad. Remember my example with the interviewer at the beginning of the story? Not to her defend. I mean, I'm not trying to, well, in fact, I don't use any names, but I could not blame her for not understanding what the manifesto was. I mean, I could maybe in a little bit. Yeah, you were in the leading role. You expected to know a little something, but this false dichotomy was really not the cause. What wasn't really caused by her, bad work ethics. She was a hard worker. It was a different generation. She was somewhat ignorant, maybe even arrogant, not to learn the history of it. But hey, some things we just don't know. I mean, I wasn't lucky to get through the gates. She was a showstopper. Maybe she also felt that, hey, maybe he's too old for this whole, proposition that we're making here, with his traditional views and, too legacy for us. Who knows? But I guess, I'm sorry, my long answer to your question, Slava. I think it's a combination of, you don't want to sound like an old, rhino, like a whale, like a dinosaur. because that will just make you easily, they'll dismiss you. And of course, it would be almost naive if you did not bring to the table all that wisdom that should come with you, given your age, right? That's something that we all humans, right? If you talk very modern, if I talk TikTok to my son at his level and don't give him anything else, Dad, you're pretty cool for my age. I'm 13, but what else are you going to give me? So you need to give that combination. You need to give this blend, and I think it's smart people will read this and will appreciate this. We just need to find those smart people and people that actually like dissolves like, right?
Well, the companies that want to do the right thing, because in my latest experience, I don't mean to take very long, but in my latest experience, companies either say we want to do agile, and then they hire smart people and they tell them what to do instead of listening to them, or they're phrasing it in agile and after this anything goes. Any BS goes in agile, as long as you preface with this in agile you can say pretty much anything. So either that, or just asking for agile and completely creating anti-agile environment. For example, work for a company, we had I spent 16 months forming perfect self-serving teams. We had change in management, they still want agile, but we turned stand-ups into colonoscopy sessions, not into status report. That would be a step up. And really, in like 2 or 3 weeks, the safety on the team level went from 100% to 0. How can you build agile based on that? And then my Scrum Masters are being judged by how many user stories they create. So somebody queries Jira and judging Scrum Masters by user stories they create. So basically,
Isn't it ironic that now Scrum Masters are Jira jockeys? So yeah.
Yeah, I think we folks are all preaching to a choir. So let's. It's pretty late for Gene, so I think it's time for us to thank him for the great presentation.
It was a conversation, hopefully more than a presentation.
Yes,
but
and great conversation.
yeah.
Thank you for joining our group. You are always welcome. I'm glad I think it's your 3rd time with this group, so you are always welcome.
I enjoyed a lot, so thank you for having me.
And I would, since it's a conversation, I would like to wrap up this meeting with what people suggested me to print on my T-shirt and start selling them. We need less framework worship and more outcome obsession.
I have a less T-shirt, but I'm not showing it.
Okay. Thank you again.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate you guys.